Hi, I'm George from NBI Hockey,
Yes. And I'm Brody from BroalieTalksHockey.
and welcome back to Winning on Paper. This is a new background. I am in my dorm looking out on a bunch of other people's dorms right now. So hopefully nobody walks by and stares at me during this. But yeah, everything got here okay, so the setup should be fine. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe the audio is gonna be super messed up, and that'll be my fault. But yeah, other than that, everything's been good. And today we're gonna do the Central Division. Same kind of process as the Pacific. If you guys listened to that episode, we're going to kind of go through each team, talk about what they did this summer. This division was a lot more interesting than the Pacific, I think, for off-season moves.
Yeah.
And then we'll give our full Western Conference predictions because we kind of tentatively gave the Pacific last week, but this week we can kind of touch on it and fully give our top 8 teams in the West. So before we begin, anything you want to add? We good?
No, I think I'm ready to go.
All right. So let's begin with the Arizona Coyotes, who actually did a lot this summer. Um, First of all, they added Jason Zucker, Zach Sanford, Nick Bukestad, Alexander Kerfoot, Sean Dursey, Travis Dermott, and Matthew Dumba. They lose Christian Fisher, Patrick Nemeth, Zach Cassian, and Brett Ritchie. So really not a ton of like really no big losses there. Um, and they added some decent players to a team that should be a lot better with some of the young guys coming up. How do you kind of see the Coyotes falling out this year?
They're in a good spot for their rebuild. Like they have prospects coming in. They're not setting young guys. Like you're doing it pretty much to the book. So it's just gonna be nice to see these young guys grow. Like don't expect them to win the division or anything or
No,
finish in the top five even. Like it's
yeah,
not
I think they'll be
that good
better
of a
though.
team. What?
They're definitely gonna be better
They
for
will be
sure,
better, yeah.
like compared to last year. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think very similar to kind of how I saw the Sharks as being like a really they're going to be competitive in a lot of games, but they're just not going to win a ton. I kind of see that with the Coyotes, but I think the Coyotes can be better than San Jose. Like I think they'll be closer to like 6th in the division than 8, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. I mean, I'm giving my spot away, but um, I think yeah, I have them 7, but I wouldn't be surprised if they finish 6th.
Right. Yeah.
I would be surprised if they finish 8. That would mean things like just aren't working out. Nobody's developed. Nobody's kind of taken that next step. But this is kind of a big year for this team. I think like the core is kind of there. This is kind of the we're coming out of the darkness year,
Yeah.
um, in a sense, which is where they
Yeah,
should
it
be. And
is.
signing a bunch of like 1 year cheap deals. I mean, to be fair, I think post trade deadline, this team might take a hit because I think guys like Kerfoot probably gets moved, Zucker probably gets moved, Matt Dumba probably gets moved. So
Hmm.
these kind of 1 year flyer deals they took um, aren't on the team for the last like 20 games most likely. So you could see them take a bit of a slump by the end of the year, but I think they'll be competitive for up until about March.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
depending on how the kids develop, they could be competitive all year. But yeah, Arizona's gonna be fun. I liked watching Arizona last year too, actually. And I'm interested to watch them again this season, which is good for Arizona. They're
Yeah.
interesting.
Hmm.
Shout out. But yeah, you have them 7th as well.
I do. I have them
Okay.
seven.
So yeah, there you go. That is the Coyotes. That was easy. Hopefully we don't completely agree on this because I that would be upsetting.
Yeah. I
We
don't think we will.
we pretty much agreed on the Pacific. So
Yeah.
okay, moving on to the Chicago Blackhawks. Yes, Chicago. They also had a fairly interesting offseason. Very happy offseason if you're a Blackhawks fan, obviously. But they had Taylor Hall, Ryan Donato, Corey Perry, and of course Connor Bedard, um, who immediately becomes their best player. Uh, they lose Jonathan Taves, Alex Stalak, Kahara, Caleb Jones, Bjork, and Wagner. So again, not a ton of like big losses, but this team really didn't. Besides Bedard and Taylor Hall, I mean, this team's a bunch of like third and fourth liners. It's really
Yeah.
not. It's not good, and
No.
I get that they're going to be bad again, and they're going to get another they're probably gonna get another top 5 pick. But like Connor Bedard's gonna struggle a little bit this year now.
Uh, I don't
Like he's
think
not
he'll
playing with
struggle.
anybody. Like what do you think is like his point production? Like if you had to put a number on it, where do you think he ends up? Like ballpark.
Okay, so I just need to ask, what did McDavid get in his rookie year? Oh no, he was hurt, so that doesn't really count. What was
He
Eichel's?
was like a point a game though. Like McDavid was
McDavid
like pretty
was.
much he was almost a point a game.
I could see Bedard getting 65, north of 65.
I feel like McDavid had like a far better supporting cast though his first year.
Yeah. His first year. I don't know. There
He
was
was
one year
better
he was
than
playing with Jujar Kara and Dominic Cahoon all year.
I don't think that was his rookie year though.
I don't think that
I
was
don't
his
know.
rookie year
Yeah, I
either.
don't know what year that was. What did Jack Eichel have his first year? I don't
He's
think it was
probably
great.
playing with Taylor Hall and Tyler Johnson or Thanasiu, which honestly,
Oh,
that's
he
not
should play with
great,
Taylor Hall. Like absolutely.
but
Eichel had 56 and 81 his first year. I think that's like a decent
I think
baseline.
Bedard gets more than that.
Sure, so do I. But I think like in the mid 60s is kind of a fair. Like if I had to put a
I
bet on it,
agree.
I don't know if I'd go higher than like 65.
I
I
think
wouldn't
he
feel
goes like
comfortable.
30-30, like 30
Yeah,
goals, 30 points, something north of that.
in that ballpark. I agree. I think that's fair. And he'll be playing. But like the other thing too is like if Chicago sucks and Taylor Hall doesn't want to re-sign, like Jack Eichel might be playing with like Corey Perry and like Taylor Radish by the end of the year. So it
Yeah,
could
that would
get
not be
it,
good for
it could
Bedard's
get ugly.
development. Yeah. Unless they
I
draft
mean,
Ivan Demidov and he comes and plays with Bedard, but
yeah.
that would be sick.
But even like, I mean, when does like somebody like Demidov come over? I mean, that's a whole
No,
nother
not year
discussion.
one.
Yeah, let's. So I think like the goal for this team is like Taylor Hall has to work and he has to want to stay.
Yeah.
That's kind of the
If he's
that
not
has to
working at the trade deadline, just dish him,
Yes.
yeah,
to
and
be
then you have to
honest.
and then you have to find a replacement though, which is
Mark
hard.
Scheifele,
But play him on the wing.
Nick Ehlers,
Yeah, I mean, why not? Hey, shut up.
that would be amazing.
That'd be fun. But even then, like, I mean, Chicago needs so much up front. Like
Yeah,
this
they do.
forward group, like, like literally in 3 years, I think Taylor Hall and Connor Bedard are the only two forwards in this team that I could see being there still.
Philip
Maybe
Kershaw will
Lucas
still
Reichel.
be there.
Yeah, but
Is
like
Lucas
not.
Reichel's not even on the cap friendly though? It's weird.
Oh, he's on their daily faceoff.
Oh,
I don't,
okay.
I don't know. He's on the first line in daily faceoff, so I don't know what's going on there. But like realistically, like there's like 10 to 11 players on this team who shouldn't be there in 3 years,
Yeah,
which is like that's a big change for a guy like on his ELC.
yeah, that
But we'll
is
see.
true.
Yeah. Anyway, I have Chicago 8th, obviously.
Same. Yeah,
Even with Bedard,
easy.
like I don't think there's much Bedard can do outside of getting like 160 points that gets this team out of 8th.
Yeah,
Because there's not even like guys who can develop. Like it's not like they have a second line full of rookies, right? Like it's Athanasiu, Tyler Johnson, and Taylor Radish right now. like like those guys aren't going to suddenly blow up.
no.
We know what they are. I don't know. I mean, shout out to yeah, Nick Foligno. He also was. I don't know why Nick Foligno wasn't on my thing. Yeah, they brought Nick Foligno as well. So
Yeah,
shout out. So yeah, Chicago. They're going to be bad, but people are going to watch them because Connor Bedard's going to be really cool.
and I will be one of those people who watches like a lot of Blackhawks games just because of Bedard. Like the
Oh
first
yeah,
time the Blackhawks come to Winnipeg, like I'm probably gonna go to the game
yeah,
because why
that's for sure.
not? Tickets are gonna be through the roof though.
Yeah, I kind of want to go to the Leafs game because I can. Like that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be sick.
Like,
Very expensive, but sick.
oh yeah, Buffalo would probably be closer, honestly. But like Buffalo, Chicago doesn't have the same appeal as Toronto, Chicago. But
Yeah,
I
that is
digress.
true.
Okay, here's a really polarizing team.
I
In
think
my
we'll disagree
opinion.
on this one, but if I
Okay.
wouldn't be surprised if we agree too.
Okay. Okay. That's really fair enough. The Colorado Avalanche. The additions: Jonathan Drouin, Tyler Johnson, Ross Colton, and Wagner. I added Gabriel Landeskog to their losses because he's not going to play this year, most likely.
Yeah,
Then Comfer, Rodriguez, Newhook, and Eric Johnson were the departures. All right, how do you feel about the Avalanche?
I think they did a decent job on fixing their big hole from last year that lost them the first round. Like I think
Yes.
their depth is a little bit better.
Yes.
Like I definitely prefer Ross Colton and Miles Wood over
Oh,
Lars
that and
Eller.
Miles Wood too. That's right.
Yeah, I do like this team. I don't think they're like necessarily nearly as good as they were last year, especially if Landeskog doesn't play. And I'm also a little concerned about Nichushkin. We haven't heard anything about what happened, and it's just like
Yeah.
it seems like it's been pushed under the rug. So don't really know where
I
that's
mean, shout
going.
out to the NHL, but
Yeah, and yeah, but I do like this team. Like I like Georgiev. I think he's decent. He's not like a top 10 starter really, but
no.
he can get the job done. Their decor is pretty good. I mean, they do have Jack Johnson in the top six, but
Yeah.
he plays sheltered minutes, so that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think it's a good team.
They're good. They're not nearly as good as they were 2 years ago.
Oh no, not even
Like it's
close.
infinitely worse. It's not, and which is shocking to me because like after that Avalanche run, I was like, this team's gonna be a dynasty. They could win the cup again. Like they're gonna be like what Tampa Bay did, and they weren't. Like even last year, like they won the division, but they struggled for like a good portion of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, Jonathan Drouin's gonna be on the first line for a week, and they're gonna realize that he stinks, and he's not gonna be on the first line anymore. And suddenly you
hmm
have this big hole. Like who's gonna play that spot? Like Nichushi might not be there. I like Lehkonen, I guess, is your first line left winger, and then like Miles Woods on the second line. Like that doesn't scream stand like they're gonna be good. Like don't get me wrong here, but
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm putting the Avalanche in like my top 5 cup contenders this year.
No,
I don't
I'm
know
not
if they
either.
make my top 7. They might be 7 or 8 for me,
Yeah, I agree. I don't know.
and they're
It's
like
just
they're one injury away from this team being a disaster.
yeah.
Kale McCarr's had injury problems. Like that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Like one of the
They're
forwards
one
goes down.
they're one center injury away from a brutal
Yeah,
center core. Like
McKinnon
if
or
Ryan
Rantanen gets
Johansson
hurt.
goes down, that is even Ryan Johansson, like that's a
Oh
big
yeah,
loss.
like I like Ross Colton. I like Miles Wood. I I think Jonathan Drouin in a limited role could be useful,
Yeah.
but he's not a first line winger. Like he's going to play there for 3 games. And he's going to be awful,
Yeah, he's
and
gonna
then
play
they're
with
going to be like,
McKinnon. They're gonna be like, yes, they played together in
yeah,
the queue.
15 years ago.
So this chemistry is forever.
They
Like
played
I
like
don't
two
get that
years together,
argument.
10 years
Yeah,
ago. It's like,
like that maybe works if they want to get him to come play, but it doesn't mean they're gonna have line chemistry. Like it
no, they could
only
be
works as a
friends.
recruiting method. Yeah.
Yeah. Mind you, I don't think there's teams lining up for Jonathan Drouin either. So
No.
I do think he's like a fine bottom 6 forward. I think
Yeah.
he struggled in Montreal, but he struggled for a lot of reasons. I think a fresh start could be good for him, but he's not going to come in here and drop 60 points. Like
No, that would be ridiculous.
watch Jonathan Drouin have like an 80-point season too. Like just because I said that, it'd be hilarious. I mean, shout out, that'd be like good for him.
That'd be
But
impressive.
like the blue line here is still solid. Like obviously, but like if you really look at it, I mean, like Bowen Byram needs to take that next step. I don't love Josh Manson as my 4th defenseman. I don't love Jack Johnson playing full time minutes, and Samuel Girard's just going to be here forever. So it's still really good. It's still one of the best blue lines in the league, but it's not where we thought it would be 2 years ago.
Right.
And like the goaltending, I still have a big issue with. Like I'm not a huge fan of this tandem. Um, I think if everybody's healthy for the whole year, it's good enough. But that's that's a big question mark. Like that's an issue. So yeah, like this team's Colorado's always had injury problems, even when the year they won the cup. Like nobody played the full 82. I think they kind of have to. Like they have to be healthy this year.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have them second. in the Central.
Okay.
Um, I think the Central's weaker than a lot of people maybe think it is. I wouldn't be surprised if this team like is a wild card team because of injury or worse. Like they're really one injury away from not making the playoffs,
Yeah,
and
I
that's
agree.
got to be terrifying. Like they're what Vegas was 2 years ago, basically. Except everybody got hurt in Vegas that year. But yeah, I where do you have Colorado?
I have them. I have them third just because I do think there's going to be that injury. Like my
Yeah, that's
prediction
fair.
relies on injury.
Sure. Yeah, and that's totally fair. Like I could easily have them like fourth in this division and like possibly missing the playoffs based on what could happen. But I mean, like, yeah, like especially for Colorado though, like I think it's legitimately obviously injuries are a risk for everybody, and I know we're gonna get those comments like anybody can get hurt. Yeah, no kidding. But
That's why we're
Colorado's had a
taking it
history of
into
it.
our prediction. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, but Colorado's had a history of it. Like
yeah.
it's more of a concern for them than it like obviously Connor McDavid could blow his kneecap out game one and be out for the season, but like he hasn't been hurt in years. So now, of course, I just said that he's gonna
Boom.
blow his kneecap out in the first game of the year. But yeah, it's more of a concern for a team that's had a repeated history of it.
I agree. Yep.
Okay, the Dallas Stars, a really fun team. I really
I
like
think we're going
Dallas.
to agree on this one.
Dallas is fun, man.
They
Um,
are.
Matt Duchene, Sam Steele, Craig Smith, who I think could have a real nice season, and Gavin Bayreuther, who again I think could have a nice season as a depth defenseman. They lose Domi, who I think would have been nice for them to keep around, but whatever. I think Craig Smith can kind of fill that role eventually. Joel
Yeah.
Kiviranta, who's devastating to lose, um, just because. Colin Miller and Luke Glendening, who I whatever, it's fine. I like Dallas.
I like Dallas too.
I really like Dallas. This team's fun. Um, and they just have so many fun players. Like I love watching. Like I mean, Hintz, Robertson, and Pavelski is easily the best line in hockey now, especially because of all the retirements in Boston. I don't think there's a competition.
No, it's
Like
not
that's the
even
best line in
close.
the NHL. I mean, obviously, if the Oilers decide to play McDavid and Drysdale together, fine. But solid, consistently playing together first line. This is the best first line in the NHL.
Yeah.
The second line's not bad either. I mean,
Yeah,
um, uh,
especially if Wyatt Johnson plays like he did last year.
yeah. And you still have Sagan there. I think Sagan can still play that second line role if you need to. Obviously, you have Matt Duchene, who can also play that second line role. Um, they have Duchene on the wing on the third line, which is fine. But he's really versatile. He's somebody who can come in and play that role. I'm shocked that he had to
Here,
get bought out. Like that's crazy.
yeah. Listen to these lines. This is just the cap friendly depth chart, so like no
Sure.
thought has gone into this. The first line, which we already know,
Yeah.
the beast first line. The second line is Jamie Benn, Wyatt Johnston, and Dadonov, which
Yep. I don't
I
love
don't
Dadonov there,
love.
but sure, that's
I
fine.
don't love. I don't love Ben there either. I'm not a big Ben guy.
I almost like their
Marchment,
third line. I don't know what the third line. Yeah, Marchman, Sagan,
Marchment,
and
Duchesne, Sagan. Like I like that as a second line better.
yeah,
And
sure.
then Craig Smith, Faxa, and Delandria. Which
Yeah,
Faxa, I think, I don't know where I was reading this. Like I think he's one of the best penalty killers in the NHL or something like
he
that.
is. He's really
Yeah,
good.
and Craig
Like
Smith, like that's a sick, like
that's a
that's
great
the
four. That
best
might be the best
forward
fourth
core
line.
in the Central.
Yes,
And
yes,
it's
100%.
if Colorado had any semblance of depth, it would be close. But right now, it's not really that close.
And even like the blue line isn't bad.
No, the blue
Like
line ain't bad.
it's not great. And I mean,
Yeah,
Miro Heiskanen is super overrated, but he's good. Like he's
yeah,
like a top
he
15
gets a lot
defenseman in
of
the
love.
NHL. I don't know why, but I don't. I have him like 15th in the
Yeah,
league.
I also love
He's
Essa Lindell. I know that's a hot take, but
I mean he's overpaid, but he's fine. Like
yeah,
he's good.
like I like his
Ryan
technical
Suter
game.
is kind of done.
You're really just
He's staying.
hoping that Thomas Harley can take a big step and he can play with Heiskanen, and
Yeah.
then your
Or Nils
extra like
Lundqvist.
Joel Hanley can come in.
Yeah. I like Joel Hanley. Joel Hanley's fun.
I
He's a
do.
good
He was
player.
on my podcast. He's my boy.
Oh, nice. There you go. Shout out. Yeah, Nils Lundqvist too is another guy who could take a step and be kind of a middle of the like he can move up into that second pair.
Yeah, and he's only
Um,
23. Like I did not realize he's still that. Like he's still
yeah,
got
no,
time.
he's young. Yeah, and of course you have Jake Ottinger. So like the the issues with the blue line kind of get
Yeah.
solved there. Scott
And shout
Wedgwood
out
isn't a
Scott
bad
Wedgwood.
backup.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I
I mean
love
Jake
Scott
Oettinger,
Wedgwood.
obviously.
Yeah.
This team's gonna live and die by Ottinger, obviously.
Yeah.
I have them first. I don't
Yeah.
think that's much of a. The
It's
blue
not
line does
close.
concern me a little bit, but I think that the gaps in net, they probably have the second best goalie in the division, third best goalie in the division.
Third.
Yes,
Mm. Oh yes. Okay.
yes, yeah,
This is actually a very good goalie division. I'm realizing.
it is. Yeah, but yeah, third
Yeah.
because like Saros and Hellebuck are 1, 2.
Okay. I thought you were gonna put like Philip Gustafson over him. I'm like, that's
No,
weird. I like Gus, but I don't think
no,
I'd put him over Ottinger.
no.
I
He's probably
forgot
four
about
for
Saros.
me. Yeah. Oh, don't forget about Sorry. He's the best goalie in the NHL.
Yeah.
Come after me. Uh, um, but yeah, this forward core is stupid. It might be the best. I'd contend it could be in the conversation for the best forward core in the NHL.
Yeah.
I
I think
don't know if I'd put it number one,
I
but
think
it's
it's probably the best forward core in the West, maybe. But I wouldn't say like the East. I think there's like two or three teams better than this.
yeah, sure. I think
Just because the
you
East is
can
so
make
heavy.
yeah. I don't know if Edmonton's depth matches up as well,
I don't think so.
and neither does Vegas's. So yeah, I think you're probably looking at number one in the West.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, first place in the Central. I think you said that too.
Yep, I did.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think that the gap between 2 and 3 is closer than 1 and 2. And this is the second year in a row I haven't had Colorado winning the Central, and I was wrong last year. But I feel a lot better about Dallas winning it than I did about Nashville.
I forget who I had winning the Central. I think I had the Wild.
Did
No,
you?
that would be crazy.
I had the
Like even for
Predators.
me, that would be crazy.
I had Nashville, but I was right about St. Louis, so don't come after me. Speaking of the Minnesota Wild, look at that transition. Um, a really quiet. Like, am I missing anybody else for who the Wild added? Because I have Pat Maroon.
They don't have any money, so that's all I added.
Yeah, that's it, right? Like, there's nobody
Yeah.
else.
Yeah, that's
That's.
it.
I mean, I guess technically Brock Faber is going to be on the team full time.
Yeah, he was only there for the playoffs,
Yeah,
and
sure. I'll give you that.
um,
That's it. Maybe
they
Montreal.
lost more than they gained for sure.
Oh, they lost. Yeah. Matt Dumba, John Klingberg, Sandquist, Nyquist, Mason Shaw, who I really like, Ryan Reeves, and Sam Steele. So not like nothing completely detrimental. Obviously, losing Matt Dumba kind of hurts, and I don't think Brock Faber can fill that like second pair defensive slot. Like that's a hole on this team. Mason Shaw, I also really like. I think he's one of the better fourth liners in the NHL.
Yeah, where'd
Nyquist
Mason Shaw
obviously was.
go?
I don't know.
Because I thought he was still on the team.
Oh no, maybe he I don't know. According to the Hockey News fantasy draft preview, he isn't. Um. Anyway, give me your thoughts on the Wild. I'll look that up really quick.
Yeah, you look it up. I'll give you my thoughts. I do like this team. I think they are better than they are last year.
Okay.
I don't think Dumbo was that good, and I think Jonas Brodin's a good enough defenseman that he
He's a
can.
UFA currently.
Oh, he is okay.
Yeah, so that's fun.
Yeah,
Somebody
that
send
sucks.
Mason Shaw, please. Like we watched. I had to watch Johan Larsson leave to Europe a couple years ago, and that made me cry.
Yeah,
Don't do that to me again.
yeah. Mason Shaw. I'm pretty sure he's from Winnipeg.
Somebody send
No,
Mason
he's
Shaw.
not. He's from
Anybody.
Iowa. Never mind.
Perfect.
Yeah, I don't think Brock Faber's that much of a hole, and if he's not great, I do think Kalen Addison can fill that.
Yeah. Oh, I think Addison will get the shot more as the second pair guy.
Yeah, the coach doesn't really like Addison though because he was late for a team meeting, so you know how that goes. You kind of just get.
Once.
Yes, I'm serious. He got scratched the rest of the year because he
Yeah.
missed a team meeting.
Yeah, that's funny.
Like that's brutal, and they were trying to
Shout out
trade
to
him now.
Yeah, shout out to Bill Belichick for starting that trend. Except like they actually made it work. You know?
Oh, Bill Belichick.
I remember when I think it was Jonas Gray had like a 200 rushing yard game against the Colts, and he missed the team meeting the next day and got cut.
What?
It was hilarious. Look at that story. I mean, he never did anything in the NFL ever again. It was so funny. He went to like the Jaguars or something afterwards. But I remember
Wow.
that he had like 230, like maybe it was total yards. It wasn't like just he was a running back, but like He had like 230 total yards this game against the Colts on like Sunday Night Football. It was the craziest thing. And then, like the next week, he like slept in for a team meeting and he got cut.
That's wild to get cut for that.
Oh yeah, it was hilarious. It was such a funny story. And he literally did nothing else like ever in his career.
What's his name? I'm gonna look that up later.
Jonas Gray. I think it's like JONASGREY or AY.
Yeah, there we go. I got it.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's a good time. Yeah, I think he went to Jacksonville afterwards. Correct me if I'm wrong about that. But
Yeah, he went to Jacksonville and Miami. He played 2 games in
okay.
Jacksonville and then 6 games in Miami.
Can you find what his stats were for that game? Because I want to know. Like, I think it was like 230.
Here, I'm gonna pull up the game logs.
Yeah, it was like one game. It was against Indianapolis, I believe.
Yeah, it would have been in 2014.
Yes.
Indianapolis. He had 37 attempts for 201 yards and
Yeah,
4
there you go.
touchdowns. He had 4 touchdowns
Yeah,
and he got cut the next day.
It was wild. I don't think it was the next day. I think it was like a week later or something. But like, oh, it was hilarious. It was a good time.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Imagine all the people who picked him up in fantasy after that. Like 200 yards, 4 touchdowns. He just gets fucking doinked. Anyway,
That's
where do you
like
have the Wild?
I have the Wild too because
Okay.
I think I'm very high on them, and I think Marco Rossi actually takes a jump here this year.
Oh, okay.
I think Marco Rossi plays
so
first line minutes.
okay.
Yeah, I have them second.
I have Minnesota 5.
Ooh, that's a big difference.
Yeah. I don't. I mean, I like Philip Gustafson. I need to see it for another year. Goalies are so weird. He feels like
Mm-hmm.
one of those goalies that's gonna regress. Like that's just the vibe I get.
Yeah,
Um,
he seems like a weird guy though, so I think he can stick it.
that's fair. I mean, he's got Marc-Andre Fleury like bossing him around, so that's
Yeah,
it's fine. It worked out for Corey Schneider for a couple of years, but
and he did buy a Samsung phone just so he had the green text messages. So now he's not in any team group chats, and someone has to text him what the team's doing. I don't know if you saw that, but
I
that's
did. Yeah,
hilarious.
that's so funny. Um, yeah, I don't love I don't love this blue line as much as a lot of people do. I think obviously I
Okay,
have Brody
that
and
makes sense.
Spurgeon. Addison I think could play in the second pairing. I don't see Brock Faber being a second pair defenseman this year, and I don't love Jacob Middleton in the top 4. Like I think there's 2 guys here who I'd say, especially on a really good team, should be in the top 4, and Kalen Addison's kind of pushing it as like a 3-4 kind of guy. But that's a
Yeah,
lot of pressure to put on a kid as well, right? Like even if Faber does get that too, like Faber's played 0 regular season NHL games. So, I don't know. And I mean, Goligoski's fine. And then offensively, I mean, the center core, like unless again somebody takes a big step forward, which I agree. I think Marco Rossi could take a leap.
as long as they get someone who can play serviceable first line center, their center core's fine.
Yeah, but
But
that's what
it's
they've been
hard to
looking for
find a first
years.
line center anywhere.
Yeah, like we've been having this conversation forever with this team. And
Yeah,
I don't think the wingers are like, especially after the top like 3 guys, like especially after you go past like Zuccarello, Kaprizov, and Baldy, like I don't know, it's a bunch of good like third liners. That's kind of what the Wild are. They're just a bunch of middle 6 forwards,
yeah,
which is like fine. Like they're going to be competitive, but I don't. I think there's teams that are going to take steps forward, in this division, and I think the Wild kind of stay relatively around where they were last year. And by nature of that, they drop in the standings a little bit. And they can't really add anything. They have no money.
no.
So this team's
After
gonna
I
just
think I don't remember which year it is. I think there's another year yet.
yeah, I think it's one more year.
But after that, we'll look
Sure.
out.
Yeah. Then they can take that step forward. Okay, Nashville. Last year I had the Predators winning the Central, and I was almost
Yeah.
right. It was very close. I do not have them winning the Central this year.
Good to hear.
They had Ryan O'Reilly. It was such a weird offseason in Nashville. They had O'Reilly, Nyquist, and Gurionov. They lose Duchesne, Johansson, Berwitzky, Calfoot, and Zach Sanford. I don't know what direction this team's trying to go in. I did. I thought I knew what it was. And then
Yeah.
they signed Ryan O'Reilly.
And Gustav Nyquist.
Yeah, I mean Nyquist was like a 1 or 2, whatever. That's fine. He's a plug. I guess Ryan O'Reilly kind of is too, because like they don't really have.
Yeah, but he got a 4-year deal,
Yeah,
and he's
that's the thing.
32.
That's the thing. I don't love the 4 year. It would have been. I would have got it if it was 2,
Yeah.
because they don't have like Thomas Nosek can't be your number, or Thomas Novak can't be your number one line center. Cody Glass can't be your number one line center.
No.
Colton Sissons shouldn't be your number one line center. So I get it. Like I understand the rationale behind needing Ryan O'Reilly on this team, because they would be a black hole. And I mean they have Roman. Like what are they gonna do with Roman Yossi? He's just gonna retire with the Predators, right? He's just gonna die here and never like.
He has to.
Yeah. Okay.
He's still got time, though. He's only 33. He's got a
I guess
couple
they had
years.
Luke Shen too. That was another strain. Luke Shen got a big deal too, didn't he?
2.7 for till 2026. So yeah, it's a decent deal.
Yeah.
Gone are the days of the Predators having an insane decor. Because if you look at this is meh.
Yeah, it's
Outside of Roman Yossi and McDonough.
Yeah, but
Even
McDonough's
McDonough,
gonna
he's
go-
34.
I mean, Tyson Berry's going to get traded at the deadline. Fabro is so overrated for some reason. And
yeah,
Luke
I was
Shen
on the
is-
Fabro hype train for a while. I like
Yeah.
Carrier, though. He's kind of
Yeah,
underrated.
he's Carrier's old. McDonough's okay, but he's just old, and he's probably not going to be on the team at the end of the season. And of
Yeah.
course, Saros, right? Like they were trying to trade Askarov at the draft. So I don't know what's happening with Saros. Maybe he gets re-signed, which seems like a bad idea.
It's a
I wouldn't
horrible
do that.
idea.
I wouldn't do it. I think the only reason why I have Nashville 6 is because of Saros, though. That's it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if I think everywhere else outside of number one defenseman, the Coyotes are a better team. Outside of number one defenseman and number one goalie. I think the Coyotes have a better forward core. I think they have a better top 6. I think the rest of their blue line is at least competitive to this. But Roman Yossi and UC Saros get Nashville ahead of Arizona.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you have them 6 as well.
I do have them 6th.
Okay. See, we're agreeing. We're getting somewhere.
Except the Wild. The Wild ones. Hey, but we did that last time. We were off by a couple spots, and then
Yeah. Well, you have Colorado 3 too. I have them 2, but that's because of the Minnesota. So it's a little bit more off than everybody else. There's 2 teams left. You still have. What do you have open on yours? You have 4 and
4 and
5.
5.
Right? Okay, I have 3 and 4. So that's fine.
If you have the Jets 3, I think I'm gonna lose my mind because that's wild. Just kidding. It's not that bad.
See, I had the Jets in the playoffs last year, and you said the same thing.
That they
Yeah, that's
should.
right.
They made the playoffs.
I know, but I had them in the playoffs, and you're like, "Wow, that's crazy." You had them ahead of St. Louis, and I'm like, "Yes."
Yeah, I was pretty high
Yeah.
on St. Louis last year.
Yeah, and
I
I have
don't
them
know
ahead of
why.
St. Louis again because I have the Jets 3 and Blues 4. St. Louis. I'm higher on the Blues this year though. I had them 5 last year. Now they're 4. Kevin Hayes and Sundqvist is back. They lose Grice, Pitlick, Brown, and Lievo. Really didn't lose a lot.
I like Josh
actually,
Levo though.
Sure.
Not like he's actually relevant, but he's a good guy.
He's fine. Yeah.
Stand-up guy.
Kevin Hayes is your third line center though. Solves a lot of this team's problems. Obviously, unless one of these players gets booted off the team for Hockey Canada related things, St. Louis should be better.
Yeah, but
That
sidebar. When is that coming out?
It was supposed to come out 2 weeks ago.
Okay, because if I'm being honest, I have not followed along with hockey at all for the last 2 weeks.
I mean, fair enough. Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I've just been excited for football because now there's actual sports on TV.
Yeah.
Like MLB gets so boring after a while.
Yeah, until the end of September.
Until
Then the
playoffs. Then the MLB is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to the Detroit Lions for making me a lot of money. Yesterday.
Yeah? Did you take the spread?
No, I just took money line.
You took the money line.
Oh yeah,
Oh, that made you good money then.
yeah, it was good.
Wait, do
Actually,
you
it
have
wasn't good,
FanDuel
but
then? Because you're in Ontario now?
I do, yeah.
Or can you get
Uh,
that when you're in Manitoba too?
you can get it, but you can't use the sports book in Manitoba. Like you can
Shit.
use it for like the daily fantasy stuff, but you can't
You can't do
do
this
you can't
betting,
right, you can't do like bet. You can
which is
bet, but
all I would
you can
use
only do
it for.
fantasy sports.
That
Yeah,
sucks. I was
yeah.
really hoping when I turned 19 I could use FanDuel.
That is what it is. I mean, just get a VPN.
That is true.
I didn't say that. Oh god, that's
No,
on that's
that's
on
so
video now.
weird.
That's not good. That's on video. Anyway, yeah, St. Louis, unless Robert Thomas disappears, um, this team should be okay. I think they'll actually be relatively competitive. I really like the forward core here.
Me too.
Um, I think it's really good. I think the blue line is kind of underrated, although I don't think it's great. If that makes sense. I
They're
think
just
people,
so overpaid, so it's hard for people to love them.
yeah, people like, oh, yeah, people underrate this blue line, but it's like a middle of the pack blue line in the NHL. But people think it's
Yeah,
worse than that, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
I agree.
Um, and Jordan Bennington eventually has to have somewhat of a bounce back season, right?
Well,
Maybe.
he's got 4 years to prove that he's worth
Yeah, I don't
6 mil.
know.
But
He's been bad the last two, so I'm just kind of looking for that random goalie turnaround.
yeah, if you're looking for a random goalie turnaround, maybe hope that Joel Hofer takes a jump. That's more likely at this point.
Yeah, maybe. Um, yeah, that's kind of my one concern about this team, is that. But I think they're significantly better than Nashville, pretty much everywhere outside of again Yossi and Saros. But I think they're better than Arizona in those spots, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like their forward core is
I
easily the
think they
best
have
of
a
those
yeah. Their
three,
forward
and
core
even
seems like a
Minnesota.
lot
I
of
put
guys.
Minnesota in that group too.
Yeah, their forward group seems like a lot of guys that could be huge, like bounce back guys, like
Yes,
Kapanen, Verona.
yeah.
Um,
Kapanen was really good. Like since being picked up by the Blues, like he
yeah,
looked
and
really good
Verona
in
was
his
on a
rookie.
tear for a while too when he got
Yeah,
traded to the Blues. So, and they brought back Sunquist, which I
that's
think
yeah,
the announcement video was pretty funny when they announced that he was
yeah, it was
coming
good.
back.
It was good. Yeah, I don't love the fourth line. Um, I'm not a big Sammy Blay guy. But like Jake Neighbors is interesting. Kevin Hayes, obviously, and Jacob Vrana, right? Like that's a good third line.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, I mean, unless Kapanen goes down, but even then, like I think it's fine. My biggest concern, obviously, is the blue line holding up and
Goaltending.
Bennington because Minnesota has the advantage in both those aspects. But I just think the forward core here has enough potential to pop that I'll take the Blues slightly over the Wild.
Okay.
I think it's close at 4-5, but I
I
have
don't
them
think
slightly
it's
over.
close. I have the Wild at
Well,
2.
yeah, obviously. Um, what about you? Where you go? St. Louis.
I have them. I think I have them. What did I say? I have 5 and 4 left, so I have them fifth.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah. I think they could be. I'm setting the bar. Like they could easily make the playoffs, but I don't think they
Yeah.
will. Like they have the potential to go there if everything goes right.
Yes. I agree.
Like they're not far out.
No,
Like they could easily pass my number 4 team.
they'll be competitive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, number 4 is Winnipeg, and number 3 for me is Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Um, so let's talk about the Winnipeg Jets. Really, only the one big move for them, but it kind of reshaped their forward core. I follow Velarde, Kapari, and Bressois getting brought in. Obviously, Dubois getting traded in that. Wheeler, Riddick, Kuhlman, and Gagne also leaving the Winnipeg Jets. If this team plays Logan Stanley
They will
all the
not.
time again, I'm gonna be upset because I think there's
Here.
potential. I think there's
Yeah.
there's potential for this team to be very good.
Oh yeah.
Because they haven't traded anybody again. Again, this is the caveat that I'm assuming they're going into the season with Scheifele and Hellebuck on the roster. Obviously,
They are. No, but there's no way they get traded. Like I can,
yeah,
I will shove my foot in my mouth, but I think there's no way they trade. Shifley's more likely than Hellebuck at this point.
yeah.
They're
Especially at this
asking
point,
way
yeah,
too much for Hellebuck, is what
yeah.
I'm
Which is
hearing.
like, then just re-sign him. Like, why are we going
He's
into the
getting a
season?
10/8, George. Like it's gonna be
Oh, he
brutal.
is.
This is
Yeah.
gonna like
Oh,
it's gonna crush
it's
me.
gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad. It's not gonna be good.
No.
But as of now, he's there, and he's arguably the best goalie in the league, if not the division. Obviously, one of the other guys in that conversation is also in the division, but That's kind of a big deal in a division that's pretty strong in net. Which is funny because the Pacific was not. For the whole time we were going through the Pacific and be like, yeah, this guy sucks, this guy sucks. And now it's like
Yeah.
this division's pretty good. So yeah, I mean, Brossoit obviously, hopefully, can come in and take some of the pressure off Hellebuck too. Like he shouldn't have to play as much as he did last year. I like the blue line. I think Josh Morrissey won't be as good as he was for the first half of the season. I think he'll be closer to what he was like post December. Um,
Right.
like Dylan DeMello, I really like. I like Brandon Dillon. Pionk has to bounce back. Like
I
he
think he
can't be
does. Like I
he can't be the worst defenseman in the NHL again, right? Like
no, I think he had a really good year the other year. I think
yeah,
I wouldn't hate if they played him like playing him with he plays good with Morrissey, but Morrissey plays better with DeMello, so it's tough to kind of balance
yeah,
that.
yeah. And then you have Dylan Sandberg, who I think could take another step forward because he's really good.
And he was really good last year. And Nate Schmidt is a solid
Nate Schmidt's
sheltered
fine.
third pair guy.
Yeah.
He's getting paid way too much, but that's
Oh
another
yeah.
story.
That's kind of yeah. This defense core is very similar to St. Louis in that respect, where everybody's kind of making a little bit too much.
Yeah,
But it's Winnipeg, so you have to, right? Like you don't have a choice.
yeah,
Forward wise, I think this team's better than they were last year.
I agree. That was going to be
Yeah.
something I was going to go off on. I think this forward core got better by trading one of their better players
Yeah, and losing Wheeler, who I think
and losing
hurt them.
Wheeler. That's a big
Yeah,
addition by subtraction there.
yeah. I have follow in the top 6 consistently instead of Wheeler is huge. Cole Perfetti's kind of the question mark here. I need to see him take that next step.
Yeah,
Because he hasn't yet.
I think they're going to end up. I don't think I follow is going to be in the top 6 come regular season. I think it'll be Connor, Scheifele, Ehlers. Shout out, that's an elite line. Perfetti, Velarde, Niederreiter, and then I follow Lowry. Or no, probably be Barron, Lowry, Appleton, and then I follow Nemestikov. Or maybe they'll actually put Lowry and Appleton on the fourth line like they deserve to be. But
Yeah,
I
like
doubt
they
it.
should. I mean, Lowry on the third is fine. I don't know if I trust Kapari as the third line center over Lowry.
No, I think then you move Nemestikov to the center because he played pretty well there last year.
Yeah,
He's
that's
played
fair.
with Ehlers. He's played pretty good.
That's fair. Yeah, like the top 6 has potential to be really good. The third line should be fine. I don't love some of the fourth liners they have. Like I'm not a big Appleton guy.
Shout out, I once said he would win the Selkie, so
Yeah, well,
that's my worst take. And
yeah,
I was also like
but like
14, so
yeah, but like other than that, I mean, like Morgan Barron was good. Kapari is kind of a question mark, but we'll see. Nemestikov looked really good post trade deadline.
yeah.
Obviously, like you don't need to write rocks. So like this team should be good.
I
And
have a
like the
hot
blue
take
line
here.
again, like what?
I actually think Brad Lambert makes his team out of camp.
Okay, over Appleton.
I think they don't play Kapari
Okay,
or Appleton. Like they'll trade one of them.
okay,
Like I think like Lambert almost made the team out of camp last year, and I think he'll do
yeah.
it this year.
I don't know if I love Appleton or if I love Lambert being here if he can't play in the top 6. That's my one concern.
Yeah, if they trade Scheifele, then Lambert
Well,
making
yeah, then
camp
for
is
sure
more
he'll make the
likely.
team. But like, and you still have Lucius too, who I think is kind of a wild card here, who
Yeah,
could potentially find a spot somewhere. So there is potential for this, and I think I'd like Lucius on that third line more than Lambert.
yeah,
So if you kick Iafallo or Perfetti or whatever down to the third line, Lambert could play in there. Like
right.
there's potential for that. So if you move like Perfetti to 3C, let's say, and you throw Lambert on the wing on the second line with Iafallo and Velarde, and then you
Yeah,
have like Niederreiter,
Niederreiter.
Perfetti, Lucius, like that's a really good top 6.
That's a great top 9. Yeah,
And then you have like Lowry, Barron, and Nemestikov, and then Appleton and Kapari are your extras. Like that's a good fucking forward core.
yeah. But
That's
they're not
really
going to do
good.
that. But it's good.
Yeah.
We don't like to play the
But
young
yeah,
kids here.
that's also banking on the fact that Lucius and Lambert makes a team for sure.
Yeah,
But
that's if they have a
like,
good camp.
yeah, the potential there is for that team to be good, and that's why I have them third because I think there's a ton of potential for this team to really be good. And as long as Connor Hellebuck's there, he's going to be a solid goalie. I worry about the top line defensively, but everywhere else, this team is fine. or at least like even competent or good defensively. So that's like it'll kind of make up for it. And obviously, I mean, you're going to get like 80 points out of Connor at least. You're going to probably get 60, 70 out of Scheifele. So that's okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, playoffs in the West. Do you have your rankings for the Pacific? So I can give them to you.
I don't have them on my hand, but I can find them.
Okay, well, you had Edmonton, Vegas, LA, Seattle, Vancouver, Calgary, Anaheim, San Jose. What's
Okay.
your Pacific?
Yeah, I think I gave one wild card to Seattle.
Okay, yes. I gave one to Seattle as well. I'm going to give my second one to Vancouver at 5.
Yeah.
I don't have the Blues making the playoffs at 4. I think the Canucks have more. I think offensively, we're going to see some more improvements out of Vancouver. I think losing Oliver Ekman-Larsson helps the defense in Vancouver a lot. And Thatcher Demko, I think, is more likely to bounce back than Jordan Binnington.
Yeah.
So I have Vancouver sneaking in barely over LA, St. Louis, Minnesota as kind of the 9, 10, 11 really, really tight. I don't know how I'd order those 3 teams, but
Right.
those are my 3 missing. I'd have Edmonton, Vegas, Calgary, Seattle, Vancouver, Dallas, Colorado, Winnipeg as my playoff teams in the West.
I have 4 and 4. I have the Jets getting that second wild card.
Okay, that's fair. I think the West, like that group of teams that are going to be battling for the wild cards are going to be fun. Like this is going to be. I think the bottom half of both these divisions aren't very competitive. But even then, I mean, Nashville made a run at the end of last year, and if Saros plays out of his mind, like they could be a contender to get in, possibly. But I think like Anaheim, San Jose, Arizona, Chicago are kind of the 4 that aren't going to have much of a shot.
Right.
And then Nashville's kind of like teetering on that because of UC Saros.
Right.
But everybody else is like people talk about how competitive the East is. I think the West is worse overall, but I think there's still a bunch of really interesting. Like there's 10, 11 teams that can make the playoffs.
Right.
And that's fun. All right, so there you go. Is there anything else you wanted to add about the Central before we leave, by the way? Oh, was Connor Bedard winning the Calder?
Yeah, no, not even close.
Okay.
I don't think it'll be close. Do you have him not winning?
Yeah. No, I have him winning, of course.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a psychopath. But I'm not that crazy. I wouldn't be like. I don't think it's going to be. I think there's going to be potential for other players to be in the conversation based on their situations. But Connor Bedard is going to. If he's healthy, he's going to get it because it's good for marketing. It's good for business.
Yeah.
If he drops like 65, 70 points, and he's healthy all year, it's like the only reason why McDavid didn't win is because he missed half the season and he still finished second in voting.
Yeah.
Right? Like yeah, like he is the best choice. I mean, Logan Cooley has a case because that's also kind of good for business, but Connor Bedard is like going to be the face of the league for the next 15 years.
Yeah.
If he's healthy, he's winning the Calder. It's politics. And he's going to be really good, but it's also politics.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at BroalieTalksHockey. And yeah, that's where I sit.
Okay. You can find me at NBI Hockey on Instagram and Twitter. We also have the podcast account, so go follow that. Winning on Paper on Instagram, Twitter. I think we have Threads, TikTok. Go follow the podcast on Apple and Spotify. Make sure you rate and review on Apple and Spotify. And full videos available on YouTube. So if you want to see our beautiful faces talk about the Central Division, go watch it there. And
Yep.
thank you guys for listening. And we'll see you next week for what division are we going to do next week?
Let's do the Atlantic.
Sure. All right, the Atlantic. There you go. That's how we decide things around here.
Yep.
Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you guys next week.